Hey, I made it. Into your consciousness. How amazing and metaphysical is that? My name is Jordan. Welcome to episode 40 of the Chocolate Croissants podcast. We're excited to have you join us today, in part because of our guest is our good friend, Jeff Blake. We all met Jeff Blake probably over a decade ago as musicians. He still performs as a bass player, but his day-to-day is now as co-founder and executive director of MissionFit. And MissionFit is a nonprofit organization and Baltimore gym and community that offers fitness classes and mentorship with Baltimore City's youth for free. It's a really incredible organization, and I'm very lucky that it's located just a few blocks from where I live, so I get to see Jeff very often. He's one of my very dear friends. He digs into his entire story, and it's heavy, and it's very inspiring. Jeff shares about losing his father as a teenager and subsequent drug use for many years, and how he kind of turned all of that around to not only having a successful music career, but also a successful career doing this MissionFit thing and all that it entails. And even more so than a career, just the quality of life and experiences that he has had and is continuing to grow. It's, as I said, very inspiring. I think you will gain a lot from it. Just having him as my friend, I am that much better as a person for it as well. So I'm going to take this opportunity to both thank you, Jeff, personally for doing episode 40, but also being a great person in my life. Very quickly, episode 40 is sponsored by Rode Microphones. I am recording this intro right now before I teach some drum and guitar lessons. So I'm using the NT-USB microphone. It's very simple. I just plug it in directly to my laptop. But when Jeff came over for episode 40 this past week and we had the conversation together, we all used the Procaster microphones. So whether you want to record audio for a podcast or it's some music project or whatever it may be, they have microphones that hook directly to your phone. RODE.com, Rode Microphones, they will hook you up and they will do it professionally and with a smile. Also, the Facebook group, it has been really, really great and engaging this past week. Hey, we actually had a content strategy. We took all 7 questions that Matt, Justin, and I answered and discussed from episode 39, and we've been throwing out one each day in the Facebook group, and it's been very, very cool to hear everybody's answers. The threads are still up. They're not going anywhere, so if this is the first time you are hearing about it, head over to facebook.com/groups/chocolate croissants. Ask to be included. We will accept you, and kind of find those threads and engage with us and everyone else in the group. It's been a lot of fun. We are over 1,500 members, and that means a lot to us, and we want to keep it growing as well. So come on in. We invite you. I think that's it. Everything else we'll hit at the outro of this episode. As you can maybe tell, I'm getting over a cold. When we recorded episode 40 a few days ago, I was like fucking knee deep in it. I actually had to run away multiple times and hide myself in the closet trying to blow my nose and not ruin this episode. And it's been rough, but it's like -5 Fahrenheit as a wind chill all week. It's crazy in Baltimore. But I don't know. It sounds like I'm complaining, but I'm not. Life is good because we've made 40 episodes of the Chocolate Croissants podcast, in large part due to people like you who have been listening every week. So much love. And with that, I take you to episode 40 of the Chocolate Croissants podcast with Jeff Blake of MissionFit.
Wait, you've gotten this far? Do not hang up. You've reached Jeff Blake, Executive Director for MissionFit, personal trainer, bass guitarist, good friend and caring soul, and I'd really like you to leave a message so that I know to call you back and I know what I'm calling you back about. I hope you're having an awesome day. Thank you.
At the tone, please record your message. When you've finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
So, Jeff, I thought you were also the co-founder of MissionFit,
It's true. I am.
but you left that out on your voicemail.
I did leave that out. Yeah, I didn't want to have too big of a head on my voicemail. I wanted to leave enough room for other people to talk.
But you have enough of a head to say that you wanted that to be included for this episode description.
That is true. That is true. I do like titles.
But he gets to talk a lot here. In fact, I hope he talks more than all of us.
I'll do my best.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 40 of the Chocolate Croissants podcast. My name is Jordan. I am still sick. I'm actually more sick than I was last week, but I still have the jingle bells, so all is well.
Where's your apple cider?
I've got like maybe 2 shots left of it. I'll save that for this evening.
Did you try garlic at all? Eating like raw garlic?
No.
It works wonders.
Okay, can you get me some, please?
Shit, I wish I had known. But yeah, I can. If you don't have any, that works wonders.
Okay, let's try it. Oh, Jeff, you already know the finger technique.
I pick up on things. So also oregano oil, which tastes horrible, similar
Yeah.
to garlic. I don't know if you've ever just chomped on some garlic, but it's strong.
It
But
works.
It's one of those antiviral, antifungal, antimicrobial, anti-everything bad things.
And you can get it at your local GNC. But I think it's called oil of oregano, they call it. And it's like a little dabber, and you put it under your tongue, and it tastes horrible. But
When have you been to a GNC, Matt?
the last time I was there was to pick up oil of oregano for my girlfriend when she was really sick.
Wow.
Yeah.
Justin's here too.
Hi, guys.
And
I'm curious, is the oil of oregano, is that, could you just put some oil in some oregano? What is it, Matt?
You know,
Jeff?
You're the nutritionist.
It is
Doesn't mean I'm
so
supposed to know about oils
It is
of
so-
oregano.
concentrated. You wouldn't possibly want to. It's like really strong. I don't think just oregano in oil would do it.
But speaking of oils, Jeff and I actually have a membership to an essential oil
We do.
company, which we haven't really used.
Speak for yourself, my friend.
Have you been using it?
all over my body?
What does that mean? Do you guys do you have like monthly deliveries?
We had an oil party at Jeff's house,
Did I become a dealer that night?
doTERRA.
doTERRA.
doTERRA. And Jordan was there, and I was there. Geoffrey
Yeah.
was there, a few others. And Jeff and I went in together and got a membership subscription to oil purchasing.
our friend Maddie's the dealer. Jeff, you were just like the one you got your hands dirty to,
Fair enough.
actually do
I'm
the
a middleman.
trade-off.
Is it the essential oils that you bathe with, or is it the kind that like come like the air thing? You know
All
what I'm
of-
talking about?
All
I've
of
got
the
a
Yeah, the
lemon one in
diffusers.
here.
The diffuser,
Yeah.
excuse me.
Yeah, I
yes.
just put a few drops of Jordan's lemon in my lemon ginger tea, and it's really good.
Yeah, and I put some
Smell this,
clove
Matt.
in my tea this morning, like clove oil. It's really good.
Wow, that tea smells like dish soap.
Pine saw.
Yeah,
Right.
But, I mean,
Lemon salt.
if it tastes good,
But I feel like I'm Jeff. You're not sick, right?
Nope.
But Matt and Jordan, you guys are a little under the weather.
I am out of the woods.
Oh,
Nice.
that's garlic cloves.
I ate some garlic. I did actually take a couple dabs of
Some
oil of
dabs.
oregano.
Yeah.
I did that, a couple squirts, and I've gotten sleep, and I worked out a bit, and I feel way better now that I've sweat. Jordan, have you worked out at all? Because that might help too.
No, I have not. I laid on my couch. I watched like 13 episodes of Fuller House season 3 and Monday Night Raw.
Do you have Netflix?
I have Carly's login to Netflix, so yes.
So I've been watching this new series called Dark. Have any of you guys heard about it or checked it out?
I
No.
haven't checked it out yet, but I want to.
It's awesome. I'm on the 6th episode, and So it's overdubbed in English, but it's a German miniseries, and it's similar in a way to Stranger Things, with like the ideas of True Detective season 1 tied into it in terms of like time and how the universe works with repeating itself every so many years. Are you familiar with that at all?
No.
Like the idea that time is a flat circle? Okay. Well, I recommend it to anybody listening. And anybody who is listening to this and is in our Facebook group, if you have seen Dark, please don't post any spoilers. But if you haven't, watch it.
Have you guys seen any good documentaries on Facebook? Netflix lately?
Oh, that popped me, man. I don't know why.
Gotcha.
And then the mic just started going crazy.
I've heard The Keepers is really good, but yet...
That's local, right?
Yeah, and really dark.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of it.
Oh, yeah, a bunch of people have recommended that to me.
I haven't seen it yet, but I will.
I started it, and then I don't think I was paying full attention when I started it, and I kind of, I don't know, I didn't stick with it, but I've heard from a lot of people that it's quite gripping.
Yeah.
I recently watched Bigger, Stronger, Faster for the first time.
Love it.
And I thought about Jordan a lot because of the pro wrestling tie-in. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
You'd love it.
Yeah, you'd love it.
You know what I loved?
What?
Jeff and I, on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, watched the 2 new Dave Chappelle stand-up specials
They're
on
great.
Netflix.
You killed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, another level, man.
Carly and I
Yeah.
watched them last night, and I thought the one from DC, right? There was one from DC and then one in Hollywood.
LA, yeah.
Right?
Something like that.
The one in Hollywood was so laid back. And I had heard about that on the Joe Rogan Experience because I think Joe said he was there, and it was like ridiculously intimate, 200 people. But I didn't think that his ashtray was on someone else's table in front of him.
Yeah.
I just
You guys
thought
see
he was
that?
using just the stage.
Yeah.
I feel like that wasn't there an ashtray right? I think
He was really close to them.
Yeah, he had like his feet crossed right
yeah.
in the people. Matt, have you seen
Jordan
these?
noticed that too.
I haven't seen them. I've heard great things. I've heard one was funnier than the other.
Yeah. What do you think, Jordan? First one funnier?
The second one stuck with me more just because of the narrative and how he ended it.
That's
and
the intimate one.
Yes.
Yeah, and he just the way he uses the format of comedy as an art form and now more longer form storytelling. Like I can see him setting up a longer story arc
He sure did.
throughout, the foreseeable future of his career amongst probably multiple, stand-up specials. He's just I really think he's a genius.
Yeah. He's taken heat for those, though, in a way that I think people probably didn't listen to him say, I don't say it because it's true, I say it because it's funny. So he says that in the very beginning, and everybody's laughing until it's about them or whatever it may be.
And I think it's easy for people to assume as well that a lot of these things are maybe his personal opinions or points of view, but in many ways, and he explains, he's just kind of jamming with information. So like, as we all need to do, kind of talk things out either within ourselves or amongst each other to kind of figure out where we stand on, different circumstances and just different aspects of life. And I think he is someone who has the courage to say things that people are thinking, whether they believe it or not, but that just it's thoughts that people have. And in many ways, that's what musicians used to be. Musicians used to change culture. Like Vietnam became very unpopular because, in large part, due to musicians. And now it seems like comedians and someone like Dave Chappelle is more speaking truth to power and influencing culture.
Yeah, there's a few that really are doing that. Some in more tongue-in-cheek, fun ways. Like I think Larry David does that on Curb Your Enthusiasm. He says what everybody else wants to say in social situations, but it's kind of lighthearted, whereas I think what Louis C.K. talks about and what Dave Chappelle talks about can be a little bit more serious.
Or even like a John Oliver.
Oh, yeah.
I mean...
He's killing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
People
Loving
like
watching.
him and, Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert, in many ways, they, shaped people our age's kind of worldview and just like gave us political consciousness in many ways.
Do you guys have a favorite comedian? And this should be a question for the Facebook group for a thread where people can post a video clip of their favorite comedians, short little skit or stand-up episode.
Dave Chappelle is high on my list, but then there's one guy who is a little bit smaller. His name's Pete Coriali, and Pete Coriali actually made fun of me relentlessly at a comedy show once, and I was crying, and my friends were crying, and yeah.
Jordan once was made fun of by
Zach Galifianakis.
Zach Galifianakis.
I had a lip ring and he called me Blink 183, which I did not find funny, but everyone else seemed to think
right.
so.
So which do you think was worse?
That's
What happened to you?
So it was when I had a blonde mohawk, and he was like, "Look at you, you're like a My Little Pony, you're like Trigger." So he called me Trigger the whole show, and he just kept coming back to me, and I found nothing not funny about it. But if I was somebody else, then my feelings might have been hurt. I was crying like a lot, laughing so hard.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I would love to be made fun of the whole time through
The
the
whole
comedy
show.
show because it's like then you're part of it.
Yeah.
Well, Justin and I once came on stage with our dad for a Pauly Shore show.
Yeah.
Really?
Who tripped up this? Someone tripped up the stairs, broke a piece of the wood. Was that one of us?
I
Someone
don't
else?
remember. It was this awkward thing, and there was we were teenagers, and there were two attractive women that I guess were in their 20s, and I don't even remember what the thing was, but he just kind of tried to make it awkward.
Wow.
I really just remember of that show. It was like this new thing to have cell phones, and somebody's cell phone started to ring in the middle of the show, and he asked. Pauly Shore asked for the phone, and started to talk to the person. So then subsequently, everybody pulled out their phone and started calling someone, and we called the Brian who had played guitar for us a million, and for like 10 years in bands, and he was always a funny guy. And I think he had Pauly Shore laughing because he was doing the Goofy movie Leaning Tower of Cheesa.
I do remember
that.
No.
The Leaning Tower of Cheesa. It was great.
You never saw a Goofy movie?
Yeah, man, you got to see.
I
Goofy
have
movie.
seen it. I just don't remember it that well. It's a couple years ago.
So, Jeff, where does your story begin?
Whew, I don't. Yeah, maybe it begins in England, where I was born. Does it begin there?
Yeah.
Lots of
It's your
facets.
story, man.
Yeah. No, I guess it belongs in England then. That's where I started. That's my roots.
And then the next place
step.
that we need to go to is where? So we go England,
Jordan's
born.
living room. Nothing in between.
Well, where in England were you born?
Harrogate, which is northeast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why there?
My dad was he was an engineer for the British Navy at the time, British Air Force, and he did that after serving in the U.S. Air Force.
And
So-
where was he born and raised?
He East Coast, bounced around a lot. His parents were pilots, so he lived that kind of bouncing around life. And then I was born in England, a place called Manwith Hill, and right off of an air base. And we were there because my English family's huge, and my American family is not so huge, so they went for the support. But then years later, he got offered more money to be here, so then we moved back to America.
Where did you settle when you moved back to America?
Sykesville,
Okay.
an exotic land called Sykesville.
Sykesville.
Yeah.
But you were obviously in Maryland, and
Yeah.
you've been here predominantly.
Bouncing around, yeah. A little bit of southern PA, but just bouncing around ever since. Yep.
Where were you in York or where?
I was in Fawn Grove, Pennsylvania,
Okay.
which is as we figure out what parts of my story we'll tell, it's a very good place to be a recovering drug addict because there's no
Okay.
drugs there.
Got it. Okay.
Wow.
It's nothing but deer and gravel roads, more deer, cows, and fences.
That sounds
And
lovely.
music.
Sounds lovely.
I Love You. Yeah, it was good. It was
There's
really
good
for me.
chocolate milk at all the convenience stores there,
Every
too.
single one of them, yeah.
Rudders?
Rudders,
Yeah,
man.
Rudders.
Rudders.
Rudders
kill it.
is what's
Wow.
up.
Yeah.
I saw a Rudders truck go past, where I'm sitting right now on the street, not too long ago.
And that was your first truck hijacking.
I'm so sick right now, guys.
Stop complaining about it at least.
You're
Oh,
still
man.
bringing
You'll
your
feel
A-game.
better if you say that you're not sick and you're getting better. But
All right, let's try that.
I'm a hypocrite because
Let's
I was
try
sick
that.
as fuck last week.
You look better already,
Thanks, man.
of course.
How do you feel?
How do you feel, Jordan?
I feel so good right now. I feel so good.
You
it
look
was
great.
You got
Thanks.
color in your cheeks.
Yeah.
I feel a bit more energy like rising up from my knees up to my chest area right now. So
Nice.
it's, it's flowing as
Very
they say.
palpable. Yeah, there you
That's
go.
good. It's burling up.
Yes. So Jeff, the first time we met, burling up.
Yeah, boiling, burling, same thing.
The
No, it's
Coke
not.
factory.
So Jeff, the first
Yes.
time we met, as we bounce around from the story points of your life,
Sure.
we were all playing in bands together.
We were.
And do you remember the first time we met? I don't.
I'm trying to figure that out as well.
I remember us talking in D.C. because it was one of the shows
Monozine.
where we didn't. Oh my God, that's a good memory.
Right.
It's one of those shows where we weren't in our home territory and we were all just staring at everybody like.
We took this like awkward, not elevator,
There was, like, a
but there was a
freight
lift, like a
pulley.
freight lift
Yeah.
to like a 5th floor.
I
of an
remember that.
awkward
That's
venue.
not the first time.
No.
Of
But
course
that
not.
was
That's my
a
first
show
memory.
that your band, I guess, helped us get on.
Nice.
And it was one of the worst shows we've ever played.
weird,
For
yeah.
so many reasons.
Yeah.
So, personally, publicly, thank you for that.
You're quite welcome.
I think I met you the first time at the Record Theater, and I remember
Sure.
just bright blonde curly hair.
All the hair.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
So much hair.
Yeah,
My
that's
Little
what I
Pony.
recall.
that's right.
But no, it wasn't a mohawk. It
was
was
just long.
It was long
And
and curly
bushy,
and blonde.
yes.
And,
Moppy.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Great.
it was definitely a memorable thing.
It was a calling card. It was like my brand because we'll call me medium handsome, not exceptional, just okay. But with that hair,
I'd say you're above average.
Yeah, we'll let
Agreed.
the Facebook decide.
okay, yeah,
Hot or
we'll
not.
throw out- yeah,
Jeff Blake.
I'll get some.
I think he's a
glamour
good-looking
pics.
chap.
Yeah, I would
I
say.
would say so,
Let's
too.
do a 1 to 10. Jordan.
I mean, okay. I gave you like an 8.9.
We were-
Right.
yeah.
That's a strong B plus. Matthew.
I think depending on who looks at him, they would choose anywhere between an 8 to a 10, somewhere
Wow.
in that range.
I'd
Wow.
agree. I think
That
you were
was-
objectively a handsome, attractive human being.
Yeah, I would give a
thank you.
strong 9.2. But then when you get to know the guy, he's just off the charts.
That's
Okay.
true.
Right?
I'm a 6.8 with a lot of confidence, but I appreciate it, guys.
Good friend, bass player,
That's right.
great looking guy.
So,
So let's go back. Let's find some points in the story. So we have no idea where we all officially first met each other.
When did you find music?
That's a good question. My first memory of the bass guitar was my dad was, after being an engineer, he decided he did not love doing that, so he became a drug counselor and a therapist. And one of the people he was giving therapy to had to go to jail. So his 8x10, or maybe 215, I didn't know the difference, went into our basement. and-
Speaker cabinets, guys.
Exactly, speaker cabinets. I was upstairs playing G.I. Joes with my best friend Jay, and all of a sudden the house started shaking. And I was like, this is awesome. And he was just hitting just low E notes downstairs. So that's
What
my
age
first
was this?
memory, probably 7 or 8.
Okay.
And I just thought it was awesome. And then when I was just friends with a couple of guys who already played music, one played guitar, one played drums. So of course, I just had to play bass. I didn't have much choice. And I loved it. Just absolutely loved it.
Did you have a musical household? Were your parents always playing music growing up? Was it something that you were like, I'm very interested in this, but
Yeah.
you weren't sure where to start?
Yeah, lots of it. I only remember 3 things: Beatles, Elton John, and classical music, just nonstop. And that
That's
was
nice.
probably because that was my mom's music. In like the daytime, my dad listened to a lot more jazz and country and funk and stuff like that.
was there always music playing though?
Always,
That's very cool.
always.
So, what are your parents? What are your parents like going from living in England to living in the States?
Yeah.
What kind of? Because obviously you bounced around. I would imagine you went to different schools.
Right.
So, what was their role
So
when you were very young?
Stability at first, and then things got a little unstable. So my mom's amazing. She's like Mother Teresa. Like
Mumsy?
Mumsy, exactly. I call her Mumsy. She drives people around for chemo appointments. She's retired now. She takes one young lady. She lives in Chesapeake Beach, which Jordan always remembers has a water park. And she drives like an hour and a half to take a girl to dance lessons in Baltimore and then drives back again. So she's like absolutely amazing and was always there. My dad was a bit of an addict, but always there and extremely kind. Like he suffered, his own addictions as well as trying to help other people. So he was struggling with alcoholism some of the time, and he passed away when I was younger. So
Got it.
that's when stability left.
But did you say your dad was a counselor?
He was, yeah.
But he was living it as well.
He was living it, yeah.
Did he have his own counselor helping
He did,
him?
Yep.
Like a
Yep,
sponsor
and
of
AA
sorts?
sponsors,
Right.
everything like that.
So was he kind of yo-yoing with it up and down? Sometimes he'd be
It-
clean for a stint and then he would go back to it?
And when it was controlled, it was very controlled. And the out-of-control parts didn't last that long, but he was very absentee when that happened. He just wasn't around. He wasn't bad. He didn't hit my mom. He didn't yell at her. He didn't do anything mean to me. He just wasn't there.
And the people that he was working with, did they know, or was it closeted from them?
You know, I'm not quite sure. I know that every single person that's given me any of account of my dad has said he's the most amazing person they've ever met. So,
That's great.
yeah.
Wow. I wonder if, and maybe he had this conversation with you at some point, but I wonder if his absenteeism was purposeful as to not do it around you.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought of that. We never did have that conversation. I was 13 when he passed away, so we didn't have, and it was 2 years of him having a brain tumor. So from like 11 to 13, it wasn't the dad that I always had.
Right. So after I mean, I guess this is a deep topic, but how did that affect you going forward? And did that take place in the States?
Yeah, it did. Yeah. So we were in Sykesville, and I was in middle school, and it affected me deeply. Like I'm not going to say it destroyed my life. From that point, for many, many years, I just attempted to destroy my own life, like being very, very unkind to myself.
Right.
With both fighting and alcohol, drugs, stuff like that.
Can you make sense of that now? Like what it was
It's just
in the pain, or
not being able to process it, not being equipped with the tools to deal with something like that.
Was there someone there, maybe your mom or friends, other family? Because now you said your family was much bigger across the pond, but then coming
Right.
here, did you have a support system, or did you feel like you were on your own dealing with all of this new uncertainty?
Felt pretty alone. Like family came rushing out, and my mom said, and this is good usable life advice. So my mom said that when tragedy strikes, which right before my dad, we realized he was going to pass away from his brain tumor, our house got struck by lightning. It's kind of bad timing, and everybody comes running out of the woodwork when something like that happens, right? But then they go almost just as fast. And she says it almost makes things worse, almost like if you were giving aid to a foreign country, and then you leave in a week and you haven't really fixed anything. You haven't helped with the infrastructure. So she didn't have much help. And some of my dad's friends did help and were definitely role models to me in that hard time.
So did you begin, I guess, using drugs around that time?
Yeah, I'm okay with these things now. It's kind of giggle worthy, but between the 7th and 8th grade year, I had already smoked crack by that time in Sykesville, which is so bizarre. Like I fell into this perfect storm where I just met the right people.
Were they older?
Some, and some were the same age, yeah. And some were, like, we would go down to the city and stuff like that to get drugs because they could drive and I couldn't. But I was just always game for it because I'm highly impulsive and like to live on the edge a little bit. So it was the perfect recipe for not so good. In that same friend group, like, I do what I do now. I've got a couple friends who very much turned themselves around, but some are dead. One's an international bank robber, for real.
Do you still have contact, or you just know this?
I know his mother because she still talks to Mumsy.
Okay.
But I don't have contact with them anymore. And then there's also a murderer in that group as well, in my middle school friend group.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where was Mumsy?
Matt's
digesting everything.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
This is crazy, right? It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, it is what it is.
I feel like I've heard not all of these stories, but I've heard a lot of the fighting stories and some of the drug usage stories. Where was Mumsy in all of this, and were you good at hiding all of this from your mom?
Oh, I'm so good. So one of the bad traits of being an addict is that you can basically fool anybody into thinking it's okay or that you're not up to anything. So if you're a good one, you don't get in a lot of trouble, which is very bad. So my mom was as much as she could be around the house, but at that point now she's a single mom. I remember when she was just inventorying everything from our house burning down while taking care of my dad. I was like, wow, I'm just basically unsupervised. Not because she didn't want to be there to do it, but she just had a lot to do.
And she physically couldn't be there.
Right, yeah. She had work still. She still had to put money on, in the bank, food on the table.
You had the wherewithal to survive, though, somehow.
Yeah. And
what is that in your mind?
At first, I think it was a slightly hedonistic drive. Like, why should this journey stop? I'm having so much fun in the process. And then you just realize you're not happy at all. You're the exact opposite of happy, and you're just using drugs and unhealthy relationships to mask it. So it took a while to actually get reflective and just admit that I wasn't happy.
How did you do in school during all of this?
Terrible. So that's another, as we talk about the facets of me. Like, I have things that I think were hang-ups that I've gotten over to make me stronger. And the thing that I had an issue with when I was younger is I was in, extended enrichment programs and gifted and talented and all these different things where they're like, you're a smart kid. And that was in elementary school into middle school, like just taking, foreign languages in middle school and everything when other kids were doing it in high school. And then I get to high school when it's just more memorization, and I've already got a really big chip on my shoulder, and I don't just memorize and test take well. So then I just shot to the exact other direction, and I did terrible. Like, I barely passed.
So at that point in your life, then, if you really weren't engaged in school, and it seems like drugs and just negative influences in the forms of people are kind of a part of your world, did you have any vision for your future?
No, I actually could completely imagine dying, and I was okay with it. Like, after high school, I started to see that happening to not a ton of people, but a couple other people. And I was like, yep, that's the direction I'm going in. Okay. I was okay with it, which is sad, incredibly sad.
Would you consider that a point of rock bottom? Or
No,
was there...
It got worse. So after being okay with it, then I struggled with it. I think rock bottom was when I didn't have a job. I couldn't just be gainfully employed at the level of addiction that I had. And I went to take I think it was to Hopkins, or one of these places. But anyway, the memory's blurry, as you can guess. I went to take a test to see if I could... be a part of a drug survey. Like, you saw it in the city paper. Are you a heroin user? I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I have
my
use.
calling.
I've got purpose. So I go in to do it, and we get through the whole test, like however many pages and all this talking. And then they said, all right, are you allergic to any medicines? And I'm like, I'm allergic to aspirin. They're like, we're sorry, Mr. Blake, you can't do it. And I was like going to get $100 for it or whatever, or $75. And I was like, I think I need to kill myself. I can't even do a survey, a study on being a heroin addict to make money. I can't do anything. That was like rock bottom.
Right. And did you actually have serious thoughts or movements towards suicide at that point?
More so just using enough that maybe it could have happened.
Right.
But not.
That's good.
Not anything like that.
And what age was that?
That was probably early 20s, if I had to guess. Yeah.
Where'd you go to high school?
Liberty High.
Okay.
Yep.
And then at what point in your early 20s, I would imagine, did you, well, maybe not, but when did you finally say, all right, I got to get some help. I need to make a change?
It was actually cold turkey. It was one of the strongest things I may ever do, but it was a pretty powerful feeling that did it. So I was in a condo in Columbia, a really nice one that my ex's mom at the time was letting us rent. Rent basically meant just squat there and not pay anything. It started as rental and then just went downhill from there. And I was on a futon that was terribly uncomfortable, looking up at the clouds, and I just thought to myself, like, what would my dad think if he could see me right now? And I just imagined my dad crying, and that was too much. really hard. And that was the end. That's when I stopped. That second, like the decision was made.
And that was the
cried a lot.
first time you thought about that particular scenario? Like
Yeah.
thinking about what would my dad think?
Yeah, I had never thought about that because I just kind of shut those feelings out. And
Right.
that feeling was just so powerful. And I knew he would be sad. And that hurt. That hurt worse than anything else that I was doing to myself.
So what was the first step out?
First step was...
So you have this realization, you realize, okay, my dad would not be proud or he would be super sad of the person I've become.
Yeah.
Then what do you do?
Then I tell my, at the time, girlfriend that I'm going to quit. And she laughs in my face. And I stay. And I actually stayed hanging out in that computer room with the uncomfortable futon while her and other friends did drugs in the other room. And I started to withdraw and went through just some of the worst physical, I didn't think I was going to die, but I was like, I am really paying for it right now. I don't even know how many hours or possibly even days. I'm not even quite sure from that point, like how long I was in that room.
So did you have any support through that?
No, not at all.
We've heard, talking to some other people, I think Daniel talked about it a bit, and I don't know if it was on the podcast, but I've had a few conversations with people who have gone through withdrawal, and they say it is the absolute worst thing you can ever experience. It was actually, you know what? It was on this last tour. I was talking to a friend of the band who is, I think now, like 18 years sober or something like that, but he's turning 40. But he went through brutal withdrawal. And he talks about similar things, like just not knowing how many hours, how many days it took. But can you describe anything from that? Like what it is like? Is it? I mean, I'm sure you go through every single possible sickness.
It's just sheer mental anguish and physical pain, throwing up or dry heaving. I'll say it, whatever. I'm pretty sure I might have shit myself. I'm not quite sure, but yeah.
Sure.
It was that's the lower moment, like the absolute, like most embarrassing, terrible rock bottom. Like I just couldn't even. I could barely move. I didn't even know what was really going on.
Right.
And I'm sure, obviously, it really depends on what you're hooked on and what you're coming off of or coming down from. But you also have to be aware that certain substances you may be addicted to, you can't go cold turkey.
No.
There are certain drugs you can get off of, but there are others you have to wean yourself off of, or you have to go to the hospital to get off of because you could die.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's a stark reality. That's because sometimes you want to go headstrong and say, fuck it, this is it. Yeah. I've had enough. I can't do anymore. But you can't just say when. The drug almost has to tell you, well, I still have the grips on you until you're okay to actually let go. And Jordan and I, we've experienced it with family members who've gone through withdrawal from some of these substances. And it's even 6 months and 12 months and 18 months later, you're still feeling the effects of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a family member who's still on a specific drug, takes it daily because he needs it to sort of keep him at bay. But I was going to say one thing. Throughout the whole process, it would have been really easy for you to just walk into the other room and say, I can't take this anymore, fucking make me feel better.
Yeah.
Was it continuing to think about your dad that kept you in the computer room?
100%. Like I just couldn't. From that point on, the feeling was too strong. Like I'd made the decision. Like it wasn't going back.
I heard from, it's funny. I was talking to Natalie's father the other day, and he was telling us that when all of his kids were younger, they weren't like super strict with their kids, but all he would say is, before you make any decision, think of my face.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And I'm serious. And he said, think of my face. And
would he say it that calmly, or would he be like threatening?
No, he said it that calmly. He was just like, before you make any decision in life, any bad decision or good decision, think of my face and think of how it would affect me. And that should help guide you in the right direction. Yeah. And in talking to all the kids, who are now, obviously, they're, grown up, they're like, we still think that. We still absolutely make our decisions based off of that statement. And that kind of sentiment seems very powerful regarding
It's a
your
strong
story.
steering wheel.
We were all talking before this podcast about Terry Crews
Yeah.
on Tim Ferriss in front of a live audience, and I think part of that was he talked about that shame, and I think that's what you would experience if you're thinking about what would my parents think of me doing this in this moment, and if they're ashamed of you. He said, Terry Crews said it really well, of like that's the worst.
It is.
You do not want to feel that way.
I'll tell you what, though, the shame didn't bother me, because that would be if somebody was ashamed of me, that'd be something that I felt. The feeling that got me out was the fact that my dad would be sad.
Right.
Like, making my dad sad was way worse than him being ashamed of me, because the shame would reflect back on me, but it was just, he would just be sad.
What about your mom in this scenario? Because I mean, was she hands on with you, or did she know what was going on?
No,
Or?
I tried to hide myself from her as much as I could. We didn't have a very good relationship until years after that.
Got
like
it.
Years and years after that. She tried, though. She was as supportive as she could be, but like, what do you do with somebody who's always lying to you?
Were you playing in a band at this time?
I was, yeah. Yeah.
But not the hint.
Not the hint, and not I Love You. I Love You is actually how I got out of drugs. In that same computer room, actually.
Tell us that.
You started a band?
No, I looked on the forum, and
Which
music
forum?
I have no idea, but
Okay.
A lot of things are hazy.
This is how many years ago?
A million.
Okay.
Yeah, at least probably 15, if I had to guess. I'm terrible with time.
And how old are you, Jeff?
38.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
but I'm.
This is
just
early
absolutely-
20s, mid 20s.
mid 20s.
Mid 20s. Okay.
Yeah, and it's before I'd met you guys, but yeah, I looked at forums to find a band that needed a bass player, and I found those guys. And then I said, "Look, I can play, but I'm in a really bad situation." And the singer, who lived in Fawn Grove, Pennsylvania, is like, "Hey, just come live in my basement." I'm like, "Game on."
And you'd never met?
No, he's a super awesome guy. So is his family.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you show up with what? What did you have with you? Did you have stuff? Did you have clothes, bass?
Not a ton of clothes. I had a bass guitar. I'll just tell you, an SW Triad cabinet and an old Fender head.
SWR stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
it.
funny.
Yeah.
And when you left, I imagine you broke up with your girlfriend
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and left your other friends. How did you deal with those scenarios on top of going cold turkey?
That was tough. You guys know the crabs in a bucket,
Pull each other down.
Exactly. They
Right.
pull you right back into the bucket. So at first, I just cut everybody out 100%. Like, that's just what I had to do, except for a couple best friends. Some got out before me. Like, they got into a healthy lifestyle before I did. So those were ones I could trust and reach out to. And the others I just had to say goodbye to. And it was just immersing myself. Like, as an addict with an addictive personality and being very impulsive, I just had to immerse myself into music, and then I didn't think about drugs or old friends or anything.
Got
We'll
it.
get into MissionFit and what that is and what you do with it, but was just athletics in general part of your life at this point?
At certain points, not then. It had been when I was younger, and in the drug days, I wasn't strong enough to pick up anything, so yeah, I wasn't going to.
But now with this band, you were in a more socially a more positive environment. You are now able to express yourself in more positive ways. I mean, did you have any self-expression prior to that?
I don't think so. I think it was all internal. Like, I think a lot. I still do. It becomes overwhelming sometimes, but I would just be there, just still with my thoughts and not talk to anybody about them. But then I did have people to talk to and a way to get out. Yeah, a lot of energy, which felt amazing.
And did the band become your primary focus?
100%. Yeah, we worked with the singer's dad doing tree work, cutting down trees. And I really do enjoy physical work, and I was healthy at that point, so it was just a lot of fun doing that. So
Did the family know everything that you were dealing with and had just been previously dealing with?
Yep.
And so they became family?
Yeah, became
Right?
family right away. I still love them.
Wow.
They're awesome. Yeah.
And then how long did you play in bands for?
So, from then until now, besides the break of the hint not playing, like, I just... played.
But it seemed like, I mean, now you'll gig.
Right.
But with the Hint, I mean, you guys, it was pretty full time.
Yeah, it was full time.
At least that was the intention.
I Love You was pretty full time with us just doing our side gigs to make money. After that, Joe, let's see. Yeah, the singer left, my friend. He left. He actually got, his own words, called by God to be a man of God, and he couldn't serve both. So I supported them in that. The other band members were super just not happy about that, not supportive and bitter about it. But I was like, yep, cool, do you, bro. You've helped me so much in my life. Like, whatever you want to do, I want you to be happy. And then we were looking for a new singer, which is when we met Joe from The Hint in a basement somewhere in Catonsville. And after the rehearsal, I knew I really liked him. We talked about the Smiths for about an hour. And I was like, I love you. I don't just like you, I love you now. And then, yeah, that's when The Hint started. And for a while, we had some members in D.C. as well as Baltimore. And then it moved up more to Baltimore, which is when I met you guys.
So if you want to kind of introduce MissionFit and what that is, but the question to preface that is that I'm curious, and I think a lot of our listeners could get value in it, is from playing in these bands, what did you learn that has now helped you be successful in these other endeavors?
Yeah. Main thing is just the flex of the hustle muscle. Just don't be afraid to go out there and work hard. I mean, you guys know this. We've worked many a line and been in studios for hours hashing out parts. Like, work hard. It was actually in music that I discovered that I wasn't a bad employee. I just never done anything I loved. Like, I realized I'm like, oh, I'm a good business person. I can sell merch. I can order merch. I can, do all these things. And that, for me, just opened a lot of doors. Of course, branding and being conscious of that comes into it, because you are making a brand as a band and making a very strong stance of who you are in this creative endeavor. It helps you find your voice better. And then when you find your voice in that way, then you can more accurately tell people what you're doing and why you're doing it. And that gets people just wanting to either support you or like your thing, or they might realize that they don't like it, and that's okay too.
And before MissionFit, you became a personal trainer.
Yes, which is...
So how did you start down that path?
So there was a bar owner, a Baltimore bar owner, Fletcher's Nightclub, which I'm pretty sure I've seen all of you guys there, and you guys have seen me there.
Many times.
So Fletcher's Nightclub, the owner and also bartender, he did Krav Maga, and he knew that a long time ago I used to compete in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, like right out of high school, because it was a good semi-violent outlet, just by being honest. And he knew that I did that, and he just kept on trying to get me to do Krav Maga. I was like, there's no way I'm doing that. I weigh 128 pounds, and I'm very pretty. Like, it just can't happen. And then he did end up talking me into it. I tried it once. I didn't even make it the whole class. I just felt like I was going to die 30 minutes in, but it was my new favorite thing in the whole wide world. And that just, it didn't shut the door on music. I played in the same band for a couple of years after that, but it became my main thing. Like, that was what I did.
At this point, though, you were not chopping wood anymore, obviously. Did you do something in between joining another band or starting this other band that then you toured with extensively and made records with? But were you working outside of the band? Was the band still the main focus?
The band was the main focus.
And Krav Maga was just supplemental income to keep yourself going?
Yeah. And I even told him, I was like, look, I'm touring, I'm recording in Boston in like 3 months. Like, you can't hire me. They're like, you can just work the desk part-time. And I'm like, right on, I'm in. So that's what happened.
Anything to get by.
Yeah, anything.
But you loved it.
I loved it. Yeah, I've done a lot of things where there were side jobs just to allow me to really, get my hustle on. And I think that's another thing. Yeah, I think all in this room are a big fan of Gary Vaynerchuk, and he just says, do whatever you need to get to where you are. Don't focus so much on where you are now. Focus on the next, I think he says, like 8 minutes or the next day or whatever it is, and then focus on the next thing and the next thing.
But playing the long game.
Yeah, play the long game. And, he recommends people, go onto Craigslist and all these marketplaces and find things that they can sell for more money and flip it and sell it and just have that hustle. And for me, it was just being able to put the work in really early in the morning doing labor type things or whatever it may be, just grunt work, and then at night play in the band, and then hardly get any sleep, and then do it again, and just love the whole process.
Yeah, I understand that a lot. We've all done that. I mean, we've all worked side jobs and had side hustles to support the main hustle.
Yeah.
None of which have been, up until recently, you being in a more corporate setting, all of us have been more entrepreneurial overall.
Yeah.
Or had the band be the thing that we were doing,
Of course, I kind of feel like I'm on this, not that I'm in a band, obviously, but I feel like I'm a bit on that journey because I was having this conversation last night where it's weird to have the main focus of your hustle be something that starts and stops so sporadically. And it's like it stops mid-December and you feel like everyone goes on holiday, but then you almost feel like, okay, I've had my few weeks off. Personally, I'd rather be on doing instead of taking these breaks, but I still have another 3 weeks to start school up again so that I can get to play this long game and get to this eventual goal. And I still have about a year and a half or so left. And it's hard not to be on full time when you have that entrepreneurial spirit and you want to be moving and keeping it going. But it's like what you said, it's kind of keeping it in check and just getting through the next thing and hustling and just keeping it going so you can get to that eventual goal.
Yeah, I think for times like that, like there are two things that slow down progress as a trainer or as an athlete, and it's either injuries or with being a trainer, it's just the seasons. It just happens. And from doing this for 10 or 11 years now, the thing I've realized is there's sometimes to be a general and there's sometimes to be a soldier. You're just soldiering on, you're just working, putting your head down. But when you get those breaks, now it's time to be a general. Now it's time to think more. And this is something I just realized when I injured myself. I hurt my back years ago. I was like, okay, I'm going to make the best of this situation, and I'm just going to, think about more. I'm going to think about why I hurt myself, how I can make sure that I never hurt myself again, and just be a general. Use your head a little bit more. So soldier on, but appreciate the breaks too. You can get some good breakthroughs. Yeah,
of course. It's also good I feel like I was more keeping this internal. Mm-hmm. Something I know you said you had a lot of experience with, and it was becoming toxic. It was getting very unhealthy. Yeah. And being able to express and voice that last night, it opened it was like a whole new spirit. This morning when I woke up, I had making new paths of how do you just get back on it.
Yeah, it feels good.
Yeah, I can tell you're in that mindset too, just from the text that I've received from you in the past 24 hours.
Right. I was feeling I was on. I was like, let's get everything back on the page. I'm ready to keep moving.
Yeah.
And so you go Krav Maga starts the spirit of maybe getting the fight back in you.
Totally. Yeah.
And did kettlebells materialize at this time as well?
They did. Yeah. One of my favorite training implements, kettlebells, came into my life because I just wanted to learn how to be faster, more explosive, better endurance, better grip strength, and kettlebells totally did that.
Shout out to Zach Henderson.
Yeah, that's right, Zach
Kettlebell
Henderson.
Master of the Chocolate Croissants Facebook group.
So as two fitness professionals that Justin and Jeff, you guys are, as kettlebells now enter the mainstream of physical fitness and gym culture, is that similar to your favorite indie band or indie wrestler kind of breaking through? Like
kettlebells sold out?
Yeah, or you feel like you have... you knew it before everyone else did.
Jeff wore the shirt of the band for many years. He competed on a national, international, or national? On a national level. I mean, he was go out there and put the work in and have the calluses rip open while he's swinging that kettlebell. Totally. And then you got awards for this.
Yeah.
He had a kettlebell coach. Me, I dabbled in it because Jeff was playing with them. I would see them places, and I would swing the kettlebell wrong, and it was definitely not my favorite indie band. I didn't really know what I was doing. Jeff had it going on, but then I saw.
But even you've had kettlebells for years now, so
I enjoy them, and aesthetically, I enjoy the ones that On It makes because they look cool.
So Jeff, do you have some elitist hipster physical
Of course.
fitness tendency within you.
Not at all when used right. Like the cool thing about when Justin and I made our journey to wanting to improve other people, we want everybody to get better. It's not just the people in this room. Like we legitimately want everybody to feel more awesome. We believe in our heart that we know some of the ways that people could, so we just want to tell everybody about it. Now, when people use them wrong, it is, to me, so cringeworthy. And
They
a
can be
little
so
painful.
detrimental.
Yeah.
And we know
'cause,
that.
I mean, you can hurt yourself doing anything, any modality, but in particular, when I see people doing kettlebell movements wrong, I'm not snobby about it. If I feel like I'm in a position where I can approach them in an open way, not a condescending, not a hey, I know what I'm doing kind of way, but hey, let's explore why you might be doing that and let's talk about it. If I could have a conversation with a person, I'll gladly do it. If it's somebody just beasting out, broing out, then keep on broing, bro.
Jeff has a kettlebell sweater, right?
Do I?
There's
Oh,
that goes around the kettlebell.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, I do
Yeah.
actually have a sweater that goes around a kettlebell.
So I
That
think
is
he's
true.
still ahead of the curve.
Yeah, nobody's got kettlebell sweaters.
Okay, so I remember you and I reconnected. Maybe it was up in what's it called?
Krav Maga?
No, at Green Spring. Where
Oh, the CrossFit gym I was at.
Yeah,
Where I
yeah,
did
the
personal
CrossFit. Arnold
training there.
Fitness.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I mean, we didn't see each other there. Maybe it was right outside. I remember I parked my car going to get
Starbucks?
like a bagel or was it Starbucks or
the
something.
deli, yeah.
And that was when I reconnected with you, and you were like, "Yeah, I train down at this gym," and I had no idea until then that you were going down that path. I just had always known you as someone who was in bands and assumed
Right.
that you were doing that full time still, and
Sure.
So when did, and maybe this is where you guys are headed too, but when did working as a trainer for someone else slowly become, I'm going to found and begin, start my own fitness mission, no pun intended.
Yeah.
Before you answer that, can you start with when did it switch from people knowing you as the bass player, Jeff Blake, to now knowing you as the trainer, fitness mover,
Sure.
Jeff Blake?
That transition wasn't too hard for me because I'm a all-in type of person, so the switch wasn't too gradual. Like, it was very clear that, by social media or just talking to people, word spread that I had just become this fitness guy. I probably was somewhat obsessed. I probably did take it as a new addiction at that time, almost 10 or 11 years ago. And it probably wasn't the healthiest thing in the beginning, but it took me through a journey of health. So I think the transition was pretty smooth and fast. And for Matt, it went from for-profit to non-profit with a book that absolutely ruined my life. It's called People Over Profit by Dale Partridge. And it's just about, at a minimum, a much more conscious capitalism. But it just talks about if you are chasing the money over providing value to people or taking care of people, your career is going to be so short-lived. You will not be remembered. You will, I don't do what I do to be remembered, but when I do something kind for somebody, they remember it, and then they usually, come back to me and work with me or will refer somebody to me. So my very giving nature and being like legitimately stoked about what I do made me want to give things away. I was in a very for-profit arena where they were just all about the almighty dollar, and I was not. And they, not in a bad way, but they tried to motivate me with that. And do you think you can motivate a musician, a passionate artist with money? Like, I don't care about that. I
It's
want to
very
help
hard
people.
to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very hard to do that. And that's an interesting place to be where you obviously need to pay your bills. You need to take care of yourself. And in that sense, it's very hard to go for long periods of time without any income.
Yeah.
So, and if you have this mindset of, well, you're not going to sway me by dangling dollar bills in front of my face, but also knowing that you needed to support yourself. And I don't know if you were with your girlfriend at the time or if you had any dependents, but
I did not. It was just, I was flying solo.
Right. So, but even so, what was your thought process there of finding that balance between earning income, but then also really building a business that was nonprofit and focused
Sure.
on the people.
It actually goes back to the hustle muscle and my ability to just go all in on something. So I didn't actually think, what if this doesn't work, or I'm going to starve, or what if I lose all my clients? I just told my clients, like, hey, I'm going to this other gym. It's a little bit of a mess. There still might be some tacks in the floors that we need to pull out. Like, I believe in this more than anything, and this is what I'm going to do. If you want to make that 10 minutes extra drive to me, you are more than welcome, and I'll break you a cash deal at first just to make it worth your while. And I lost half my clients and didn't care one bit about it.
Was any part of that going from the swanky, posh like gym that you were originally at and then moving to something that wasn't as polished?
Possible. I mean, I went from bougie to bare bones.
Yep.
And I created that bare bones place, like, hands and knees, crawling, learning all the stuff that I learned in my odd jobs where I refinished the floors. I'm not qualified to refinish floors, but I figured it out. Got a grinder or a sander from Home Depot and got to it.
It's kind of like a common thread we hear from a lot of people who are on a journey that they really want to be on, but aren't 100% sure what they want. They just know that the end goal is to be, this is the right journey. I have to be on this path.
Right.
So you just, whatever it is, I'll figure it out as I
I'll
go.
do
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I'll do it myself, or I'll figure out, or whatever. it
And
may be.
luckily, you had a lot of friends who helped along the way.
Sure. Yeah.
And it wasn't like you were going at this alone.
No, not at all. A great support group. When I started, it was Wendy, our founder, who just said, hey, Jeff, I'm thinking about starting this nonprofit gym in Baltimore. Do you want to coach one class? And to me, I just heard, like, do you want to do everything? And I was like, yes, I do want to do one class, which meant I wanted to do everything because I was ready for that. And I spent about a year and a half just being program director, writing all the programs, being head coach, just doing a lot of the organizational stuff while Wendy took care of the paperwork, the stuff that is not as fun, a lot of the grant writing, a lot of making connections, and she's really good with that. And then January of, a year ago, I became executive director, January of 2017.
What are some of your favorite highlights across the journey?
Yeah, there are, so it's just watching humans bloom. Like it's seeing people become empowered because of what we do there, whether it's my belief in somebody's abilities or it's another coach's belief, whatever it may be. But like you have been fortunate enough to lift with one of our students, Janai, who's like one of our original rock stars, and she came in, I don't think she could barely like goblet squat, which description is a squat where you're holding a kettlebell in front of your body and going down low into a squat and standing back up. I don't think she could do 20 pounds when she started. And in her last powerlifting meet, I think she hit 185 or something like that for a single as a 17-year-old girl.
So I think a lot of people can gather the basics of what MissionFit has become. But if you had to explain it to someone who knew nothing about what you do,
Yeah.
what is MissionFit?
Yeah, it's pretty easy just because I'm very much steered by our mission statement, which is strengthening Baltimore's youth, educating its future coaches, and creating an inclusive, intentional community. So that sounds fancy. Strengthening Baltimore's youth just means that we have classes for Baltimore youth ages 11 to 24. So 24 is like the cutoff of what government agencies usually consider youth. And these are still times where you could definitely reach somebody and be very impactful in their life.
With that part, are these students paying, or are they
Nope.
coming through different programs? And if so, where are they finding out about this program?
Sure. So kids that we find ourselves just through a lot of word of mouth, a lot of, hustle, like we've all done. Grassroots organizations definitely thrive off of word of mouth. So some kids just come in as individuals. They train for free. We also have organizations that bring their kids to us. Like we have a partnership with the Baltimore Police Department, Baltimore City Police Department, and we train some of their kids as well. One of the things that we struggle with a bit is we are in a very central location. That sounds like that would be a good thing, but the transportation system in Baltimore is not super awesome for our kids to get around easily, so it actually makes it difficult. So if any organization can bring us kids, it's a win-win, because we'll train them for free and can make those good, mutually respectful relationships where it's more than just, goblet squats and animal crawls and stuff like that. We finish each one of our classes with a gratitude circle where we circle around and say 1 to 3 things that we're thankful for or grateful for. We finish with a silent 60, or a mindful minute, as we call it, where we just sit quietly for a minute. Because some of these kids will not get silence until then they're in MissionFit again. Like, the city is a loud world. You know what I mean? And we have, in my opinion, we have the luxury of silence sometimes. So we just try and give them that to quiet their minds a little bit.
Some of my favorite moments there has been you created a strength club for a lot of your peers and friends and contemporaries and others who just want to come together under the header of getting stronger together and enjoying one another's company. But there's also the MissionFit youth and teenagers and young adults that can come as well. And there have been members of that community who really just needed a safe haven, a place where they can go and just feel like they can kind of escape from their reality and come into a new reality where everything is much more relaxed. And even if they don't even lift, they're just their presence there. But the fact that you created that for them to be there, that's some of my favorite moments of being at MissionFit, just seeing that that was a possibility for someone who may have not had that.
Just a safe place, a place where, again, you're going to be met by an awesome community of good people who are excited to see you. Like, how many gyms do you walk into where people are legitimately excited to see you just because you're there?
Of course, yeah, and willing to help you. It's more than just.
Oh yeah,
and it's. I remember a lot of times feeling like, oh man, Coach Jeff is walking around helping everyone, but Jeff doesn't get to join in. And then eventually it became where a lot of the members of the group would be able to help some of the youth or some people, just anyone who was in there, and you'd then be able to join, and then everyone's in it together. That's always the best.
I think you told me the saying, high tides raise all ships. And I've been using it like every day since. But yeah, you lift other people up, or you don't try and hold them down, and you lift together. Like, you just, and that's a terrible metaphor, but yeah.
No, it works.
But it works for sure.
Yeah, totally.
So through this process, have you had people that are coming to you for things that you maybe didn't expect? I mean, beyond fitness and, mental health, it seems like. Have you had people that have come to you and said, man, like, I want to get out of the situation I'm in. Here are my dreams. Here are my goals. Here's what I want to do with my life.
Sure. How
can I get there? And even if it's not through fitness.
Yeah. Most of it has been through the frame of fitness. Like, it's our lore, essentially. It's our way to get people in, and then we can help them more after that. I have had a couple kids, young people, tell me some pretty lofty dreams. I've also seen some dreams just be crushed by their environment, like an 18-year-old who was doing our mentoring program who got kicked out of his house and had to get a job and could not do the mentoring program anymore. And that was hard to see, because he's a very promising human. And then there's like a middle school girl who is just mega strong. She walked in and picked up our strongman log, which is an 89-pound log, and just picked it up overhead as a middle school girl. That's insane if you just can't.
She would walk around during strength club and somebody would have like 200 plus pounds on a barbell and she'd be like, I can lift that. And like, yeah, even though this is not proper etiquette in the gym, but she would just walk in front of someone and pick it up.
Right. She's insanely strong.
And she was like 12 or 13.
Yeah, 13. And she wasn't really there to be doing a lot of heavy weightlifting. She was there to do more body weight exercises and things like that. But she's just so strong and loved to punch things. And she really bloomed at MissionFit. But the sadder thing is that her mother had another child, and then this 13-year-old, now 14-year-old, becomes essentially a surrogate mother to her mother's kid and has to take care of her. And like, she couldn't come to the gym anymore. So we've seen people be lifted up. We've seen people kind of get pulled down. And all we can do is just stay open, keep reaching out, keep trying, and won't stop.
Do you think you've learned some of this behavior, for lack of a better word, from witnessing the things that your mom does now?
I think so. I think my mom and dad just imprinted so strongly, like a moral compass, that even when, because you guys know me now, I'm like freaking Mr. Rogers with tattoos. Like, I love everybody and I want to help everybody. And, I literally really consider anybody I meet like a friend. But I think that just came from them imprinting in that way. And even when I was doing the most wrong things to myself or others, I still knew what was right. I definitely knew. So I don't think it was that hard to come back because I just had a really good compass. Once I was out, I was on the right path.
But to add to that, would you say that in some way, going through all of the pain and the self-destructive nature of addiction and having to cope with the loss of your father and the aftermath of that, would you say that helped for you to have empathy for these other kids that are struggling, and as a byproduct, become inspired to do this work?
I think that has a lot to do with it. Yeah, like I see a part of myself, my younger self, in them, and I'm like, you are just so great now. Like, let's stay on a good path. Realize how awesome you are, and don't let things get you down. One of my best moments of this year was a young man. I think he's 16 because he always talks about my car. So I'm pretty sure he's 16. He definitely wants to own my car someday.
You're going to give it to him?
I might. We'll see. I kind of like my car. But he lost his father this year to gun violence. And he didn't go to school for a week. But the day after, the day after his dad got shot, he came to MissionFit that day. And that was just so strong. And I could just see it, not too much of an ego, but I felt like I just had to be there for him. And I felt at that very second I should probably tell him that I lost my dad too, and that I did not handle it well. And, I ended up in a good place, but it could have gone so south from there. So I felt it as a good teachable moment at an appropriate time. He was open. He was happy to be there and happy to see me. But I just felt it so valuable to just, not interject or force my story on him, but just say, I lost somebody too. It hurt really bad. I did not process it well. I just want you to know I'm here if you want to talk about it anytime, or you can call me or whatever it may be. And that felt good that it was the safe place, like we were talking about.
It's really powerful. I'm curious about your thoughts, and this is what I thought of when I just kind of brought this up. But, I've shared at drug rehabs before, and even still weekly, share with people who are in recovery or still struggling with addiction. And the last time I shared at an actual rehab, it was mostly late teens and people in their 20s. And it just came out of me, and I basically said, like, look, if you choose to look at it this way, like, I think the journey you're going through, when you come out of it, you actually have an advantage over everyone else when trying to re-enter the workforce or whatever, they're trying to accomplish by building their lives back together. Not only in the sense of experiencing pain and despair and then having the capacity for empathy, but even just like the hard work it takes to live through that and to come out through that.
Sure.
And it seemed to resonate with them. I'm just kind of curious, like, even in your journey, has that made you feel more well-equipped to take on this challenge of being this director of a nonprofit, which is a very challenging endeavor to both keep it alive, but also to support yourself?
Yeah, and I have no qualifications to do that either. It's just I feel that's the job I need to do, and that's the job that needs to be done. Yet coming out of addiction builds a kind of resiliency that you can't match. Like, another thing is, if you've truly hit rock bottom, what's scary after that? Like, There's not much. Like, I've done some of the worst stuff to myself. Of course, I'm being a little arrogant there. Something terrible could happen to a family member. That would definitely hurt me. Something bad could happen to me. But I've already done quite a lot to myself, and it was pretty terrible. And there's a chance I might not have survived it, but I did. So now, these other things, you know, they don't seem that daunting. So it's just game time.
Something else that I noticed through your story is how you approach others and how you would opt to approach others. And it seems like you would do so with a lot of discipline and temperance for overstepping your boundaries. And it seems like you know how to approach many situations appropriately.
Sure.
Where do you think that comes from?
I have a feeling that might be some of my dad's work, just learning how to listen to people. Like when I was a kid too, I used to just go to AA meetings and listen. And, you know, the ratio of mouth to ears is 1 to 2. So definitely use the ears a little bit more. And I just, if you have, like, I'm very much steered by values. So if you're steered by kindness and openness first, like, you are going to, you know, make sure you're just not trampling all over somebody just to get your point across or just to help them, perhaps. 'Cause you might not be helping. Like, the discipline's a good word for it, because it can, unchecked, it can be ugly.
Have you ever felt the urge to want to say something in a conversation or want to approach someone? And when you do, if you do, which I imagine you do, what are some of the tools or kind of methods that you use to calm that back down, wait for the right time, if
Sure.
the right time even occurs?
I actually don't need to tell people that many things because of using the Socratic method as a tool. So if you ask questions, like, okay, like, so you know somebody is literally eating themselves to death or into pre-diabetic condition or whatever it may be, you just start to ask questions. You don't need to say, you don't need to do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. Like, say, what are you doing now? And just talk about their current state. Are they okay with it? Do they understand the reality of the situation? Has it ever been explained to them? And by using questions, I can generally get people to get to where I wanted them to get to. Instead of telling them something, I've asked them questions. They now feel like they've come to the answer, and now we're both happy.
Right.
Yeah.
As part of the discipline on the journey, it's really interesting in listening to the story and thinking back. You decided in one moment, with the compass being your dad there and his reaction to what you were currently going through, that you were just going to quit drugs cold turkey. And this is discipline 101. I mean, this is like everything that has to do with discipline. But somehow, in listening to the story and thinking back, you're one of the only people I've ever had the conversation with that I just couldn't see it being even like a possibility to ever relapse.
Sure.
Which is really interesting because it seems like from the AA or the NA mentality, it's always keeping it in check. It's one day at a time, right. And I'm dealing with this. And did you feel like you had supplemented with fitness and other things? And I know you've gone through some crazy journeys on the fitness journey, you know, of different things you've tried over the years, of gaining weight and drinking a gallon of milk a day kind of thing. And that's it's extreme. You have to stay extremely disciplined for that. Did you feel like you kind of swapped that stuff for the drugs or for what you had currently been doing, and you just kept swapping things, but now you feel very in control?
Well, so a lot of the changes, I did drugs because I couldn't handle my feelings, and I didn't feel like I was good enough. Like I did drugs for that reason. I did music probably because I didn't feel very confident, and I wanted to find something to make me be more confident. I got into fitness because it empowered me, and that probably came from a place of a hole that was there somewhere. So all these things, up until just the past couple of years, have always been to fill something else. But right now, I'm just fucking okay. Like, I'm good. Like, I do good things for people, and I don't need to be so harsh on myself. and I don't need to weigh 200 pounds and squat 3 days a week and drink a gallon of milk, and I don't need to do.
You were so jacked, though.
I know.
Do you miss
kind
it?
of fun, a little.
You did post the picture more recently, and you were,
Huge arms.
should I or should I not go back to this
Sure.
version? I look at you, and all I can think of is the story of Sisyphus. Remember Sisyphus?
Push the rock up the hill.
Exactly, but
Yeah.
I feel like you're the Sisyphus who took that rock to that damn hill.
Oh, that's right.
And you just kept pushing
Yeah.
until that rock just decided to stop
Right.
rolling back down that hill.
Yeah.
Do you feel that way?
Sometimes. I mean, I've done a lot of things with my body that are awesome. Like, and there were still things to prove at that point. That's why I did them. And now it's actually a little harder to stay motivated because I'm like,
I did it.
I'm good.
Right. I pushed the rock up the
Yeah.
hill. I'm good.
Well, when Justin was kind of teeing up that last question, you know, and it kind of seemed like this idea of, well, you were addicted to things in the past, so now like have your addictions kind of like transferred to something else. And I think there is something to, you know, a theory of someone being prone to, you know, a quote addictive personality. But for me, I think it's more, you know, the addiction, quote unquote, is a means to an end. And so the question I wanted to have asked, and you kind of answered it, was, did you kind of work through those feelings that led to the drug addiction in the first place? And I'm really glad the way you answered it and kind of alluding to that, well, the band served this other purpose, or you being a musician served this other purpose of different insecurities.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important for no matter what we do to look under like the hood of the car and kind of try to develop insight into, well, why do I do this? And why am I compelled to act in these ways? And I think it's easy and cheap to just chalk it up to, oh, well, I have an addictive personality and that's just how I am, instead of asking why.
Right.
You know, so I was really impressed by the way that you answered that.
Thank you.
So what is the new, well, that's a bad way to frame it maybe, but aside from being executive director, aside from running MissionFit and being there every day, what is the current thing that you are immersed in, if there is something else?
So MissionFit takes a lot of my time, and I love it. Like, I very much get immersed in that. Besides that, it is relentless self-improvement and self-reflection, like just looking inside to make sure that these little demons are checked. They're not running around unchecked, because I'm very capable of having that happen. Within this past year, I started playing bass again because I missed music. I stopped playing for a while. I still had my basses and amps, but I just wasn't playing. I wasn't that excited about it. And that was weird to me, but I just couldn't find the motivation to do it. So I decided to get a guitar, and I was going to play metal and gypsy jazz, because those are two things I wanted to learn on guitar. Mm-hmm. And I was so bad that within 3 weeks I was back to playing bass again, because I'm good at it.
You sold your guitar pretty fast.
I did, yeah. Got rid of it. But
Gypsy jazz, I feel like, is a hard genre to
so
crack
good. I
into.
love it. Django?
Yeah, some Django. It's just so jaunty. I feel like it's my spirit music.
Some rhythmic
the happy
shit.
stuff, at least.
I love that stuff.
Yeah.
It's some of my favorite music.
To add to helping and answering Matt's question, you did say the other night over the wonderful Dave and Buster's, of which you and Jordan came to celebrate New Year's with us. You did say that you have felt like you've been telling the MissionFit story, and you fit into the MissionFit story, but you were more ready now than ever to start telling your story.
Yeah.
And I thought this was such an exciting time, place, medium
I agree.
for you to really kickstart. And I'm hoping this is the kickstart.
I hope so.
To sharing and telling more of your journey.
It felt amazing to just say some of the things I've never said to people. Like, I'm not ashamed of them, but in the same way, just not. You just don't need to tell everybody your life story. You don't need to weigh them down with that. Like, as you were asking me questions, I was already starting to giggle a little bit, because I'm like, man, I'm going to have to tell them that my dad died, my house burned down, and this and that, and got addicted to drugs. And I just don't share that often, because it doesn't reflect so much on who I am today, but it's definitely why I am the way I am today. All those
Well,
things.
sure. It had to create a foundation of your story.
Yeah.
And I think we needed to understand that to better understand why you are at the point you are at today. And I think it does have, at least from an outsider perspective, I could see how those dots get connected over time. Maybe there's some long space between the dots.
Yeah.
But I can definitely see that. And I think I guess what I'm gathering from what Justin's saying is that maybe you've mentioned or he's mentioned to consider getting out there and sharing this with more people or speaking. And
Yeah.
I would highly recommend you do that, because I think you would continue to help a lot of people.
Sure.
And that would be an amazing reason to share the story, even though that selfishly you might think that it's not a good thing to do.
Yeah.
I think unselfishly you would help more people than you may realize.
That would be amazing.
There
I
are
mean,
so many
that's-
versions of you out there, and you
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you've come in contact, you've encountered people who've been pretty much on the same story, but they have yet to connect the dots.
Right.
And I feel like you could be the beacon that just helps them
I mean,
see, like, look, this is where it can go. And if you're currently in a state of one of the places you've been in, say someone's heavily involved in drug usage and they're around the wrong people and it's toxic, a toxic environment, and all those kind of things, you can tell them that it does get better.
Right.
You know, you can provide that example. And I think sharing your story and your truth is gonna change people's lives.
So that, yeah,
And you
be
already are
amazing.
doing that. So it's
Yeah.
really just, a whole different sect of people.
Yeah.
As we start to wrap this up, Jeff, I'm curious, and I may have missed this while I was like hiding in my closet, just like slowly dying and trying not to make noise. What it?
Wait, that you were? I thought you were in the bathroom
No, I went
plugging. Jordan plugs one. He never learned how to blow the nose with two nostrils. He plugs one and blows as hard as he can.
You say that as like I feel it slowly leaking out of the right one.
I thought that based on part of our conversation earlier, you were in the bathroom looking at yourself in the mirror and being like, I can get better.
I feel
I
better.
feel
I
better.
am better.
I connected
am-
dots.
Yeah, I do. I leave this conversation feeling more inspired, as well as more congested. Believe it or not.
But are you saying to yourself, "I feel great"?
Yes, and
It's burling
thoughts
up.
do become reality until reality kind of actually does its thing.
Becomes your thoughts.
Until
and then
NyQuil
snot
kicks
is
in.
like slowly
Burling up you.
Anyway, Jeff,
Yes.
what do you see the potential of MissionFit being, and to second that, what would you like to do to help create that?
Sure. I see MissionFit being more, growing out in a way where the people we're reaching are not just the people of Baltimore, but the way we engage those people, they will be helping the people of Baltimore. I see this happening in creating more content that is valuable to more people and getting people to tune into MissionFit because they enjoy the content, and then the monthly donation or the yearly donation doesn't even seem like a thing. Like, they are already loving what we're doing for Baltimore's youth, but they also love what they do for us. So I've been working on what that looks like, both on YouTube, Instagram, everything like that. And this is the year to ramp it up. We're going to be hiring our second employee. Everybody else is volunteers. And for me, the focus is on getting that content strong, but also training the coaches that I work with to be ready for when this breaks. Like, because I can say, I'm humble and really shy about a lot of things, but I am a good coach. I can say that very confidently because I try really fucking hard to be a good coach all the time. I continue to read, I continue to learn, I keep my white belt mentality and just continue asking questions and learning more. And because of that, it's attracted some really good coaches who are then going to take on some of the work that I did and spread it bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's what we're getting ready to do right now.
So if you had to boil that down to a goal, is the goal to essentially evangelize to other coaches who get behind the mission,
Yeah.
and therefore have those coaches educate others to bring them into the MissionFit world
Yeah.
in places outside of Baltimore.
Yes, and also to take MissionFit into places. So right now, being a single brick and mortar place,
Yep.
we can only reach so many people there. It is that safe place. It's wonderful, but in order to reach more people, we're going to have to start branching out more. And at first, that was very overwhelming to me because in a somewhat arrogant thought pattern, I'm like, well, gee, how can I do all these things? It's
Sure.
like, no, dummy. You don't do all the things. It's not about you. It's about empowering other people and having them continue the mission that I'm already doing. It doesn't have to be me. And that was a really good realization.
So the goal is to create essentially a MissionFit quote unquote program in
Yep.
other locations, other gyms.
Yeah, satellite. Yeah.
Satellite.
We're going to be in a Baltimore City school this upcoming year.
Cool.
Which I'm fired up about. It's been hard to get a good partner in a Baltimore City school because some are not in good shape to be a good partner right now. Like, it wouldn't, this is going to sound, if you don't live in Baltimore, you might not understand, but there are, and this is with full love and kindness, there are some impoverished areas that just lack so much in resources that the schools are not a healthy place for kids to be. That's
Yep.
insane.
Yeah.
So it would not, in my opinion, be a good idea to step into that toxic scenario. So we do have, we'd rather almost get those kids out of that toxic scenario into MissionFit, but we're starting to form some partnerships.
Is there just because I'm really curious, is there a specific location and deadline or number of locations that you're looking to get into? Like, is it a specific number of schools
Sure.
or a specific number of gyms? And do you currently have a time frame in which you're really gunning for?
I'm nailing that down now. Like, we're just coming out of 2017 into 2018, and ideas are starting to form, and this is where more stuff goes onto really big pieces of poster board where I write down all the moving elements and all the moving pieces of MissionFit, who can do what, like who we can do decentralized command to, and who can take stuff off of my plate as well as other people's plates. And then within this month, I'll have an idea of exactly, I can just look back at the numbers from 2017 and say we worked with this amount of kids were in the gym, and we visited so-and-so amount, and I just want it to be more. I'm happy with growth. Like, I was just listening to the How I Made This podcast with Yvon Chouinard of Patagonia, and he just talks about the businesses that grow the fastest are pretty much destined to fail. Like, they just can't keep up with their own growth. So, me personally, I am super impatient about this. Sorry if this is getting long-winded, but I'm super impatient about it because I just want to help more kids right now. But I just realized to do this right, we've just got to build the right protocols, the right partners, and let's just grow organically, and let's not force anything, put ourselves into a bad scenario. So it's just more as of now. But
Right.
as of right now, I need to crunch the numbers and see what more looks like.
Yeah.
So I can set that very accurate goal.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what specifics you come up with for that.
Yeah, I can share that.
Because those things will be so cool when you. For us, we have certain goals and numbers to reach, but I love when I've set these milestones or set a specific, quantification to something
Yeah.
on a deadline or a time frame, and then you reach it, and it's like the most empowering thing.
yeah.
And I could see you getting obsessed with that.
I do. I set goals last year and beat all of them in like 6 months.
Yeah,
So,
that's the best.
and
That's the best.
But then for the next 6 months, I felt like I was floating a little bit. So I'm going to try and set them a little bit loftier and just get after it.
Go one step or two steps further than you
Yeah.
think is realistic, and
Yeah.
that's always the good
I'm already
thing.
thinking about how MissionFit is replicatable in other markets. Like, it does not need to be just here. There's
I would imagine it is.
Detroit, there's New York, there's a lot of different places where inner city youth are not being served, one, with our brand of fitness and our expertise behind it, and two, our very values-centric approach, where I just think that could be big.
It's really youth in general. It doesn't have to be city related just
all.
because that's the Mission Fit
Right.
idea. But I feel like, and I know we've spoken about this at length,
Yeah.
where you could just take this on the road, and that was then at the time when I think this was all materializing, and that would have been you by yourself taking this on
Right.
the road, which I think we all learned from playing in bands that as one person or as 3, 4, 5 members of a band, you can still only do so much, and
Sure.
eventually to really expand vertically, you have to expand the team horizontally so that you can grow
Right.
and not have all of it fall on your plate.
Yeah.
But I definitely see taking the exact protocol or very similar protocol of what you have developed and implemented here in Baltimore, and you could scale that and take it really anywhere.
Yeah, totally.
You could teach that to anyone
Yeah.
to go do,
Yeah, totally.
which is incredible.
I think a big part of that, you alluded to it before, is the content that you're creating. And I even know you said you bought a new camera,
Yeah.
some lenses recently for that.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that you are a good coach. And I want to just say you are an amazing content creator. Real quick, plug the MissionFit Facebook and Instagram,
Sure.
just so people can
It's,
follow.
Facebook.com/MissionFitBalt, BALT, and our Instagram is MissionFitBalt. Twitter is also MissionFitBalt as well.
So as listeners follow along and see you specifically creating content, I think you are the most natural person I know at really like communicating yourself through that medium.
I don't see that, but I appreciate it. I just, speak truth. My truth, at least.
Yeah,
That's exactly it.
that's what it is, and that's very difficult for I'd say most people.
Yeah.
And your truth is clearly very positive and engaging and enlightening and attractive. So I'd encourage everyone listening to this, including Tyson,
Who's got so
who's
much
been
energy,
moving around, who's been farting
crying.
all episode. I'd encourage everyone to follow Mission Fit and even just watch Jeff as a way to learn how to create content with the purpose of sharing a message and with the world.
Yeah.
and being yourself. Because I think the three of us we do the intros and outros for the podcast oftentimes outside of this group being together, and we'll talk about how ridiculously complicated you can make it on yourself, from messing up a few words to not feeling like you're really being yourself.
Sure.
And I echo Jordan's sentiments that in watching you, it does feel extremely natural. It seems that it comes together very effortlessly, whether it is or not. It comes off that way, and it feels like you're getting the exact Jeff that you would get if you were to be hanging out with you in person.
Well, that's what
Which
I'm
is great.
looking to do, is be the same that I'm here with you guys. I tend to, when I do some of the speaking stuff, I almost black out. I don't even really know what I'm saying. I like the goal setting and gratitude workshop I did. Like I just blacked out for an hour and a half later. And then, an hour and a half later, I'm like, okay, thank you.
But what great...
Sorry, Justin. You did say that you guys had the grand reopening when you moved next door, and so it was a nice gathering of diverse people who were supportive of both you and MissionFit, and you had just a welcoming speech of sorts. But you said you get nervous before that,
Totally,
which surprised me, especially being a performer who's used to being on stage.
Yeah, it's because if it matters enough, I care about it. Like, I don't want to mess it up. It's that important to me. So live shows are the same. I would actually be nervous before live shows because it was that important to me. I knew I would do well, but I just wanted to really make sure.
Well, I think we can all agree you always come through.
Whether you're present or not. Two things. The one is a joke, but the other, you did share the goal setting seminar, and this was a few years back, 3-4 years ago now.
Yeah.
And I still reference that often.
Awesome.
I mean, I use that all the time, whether you're going A to B or A to Z or A not A.
Right.
That really resonated and really sucked.
Yeah.
And you've only done a few seminars, but the seminars you've done, you've chosen the material extremely well.
Yeah.
And you've presented them, whether you were present or not, in a way that I think a lot of people take extreme value from, and then they quickly are able to add that into their life. So
I hope so.
thank you from all of us who have attended these.
Of course.
And if anyone is in the Baltimore area, the next time you do one, we'll definitely promote it for you.
Thank you.
But this reminds me of, you've seen the movie Old School?
Of course.
When Will Ferrell goes up to debate. You guys have seen this? And he just starts and Matt, you want to do it?
Yeah, he just blacks out.
He just
and
goes and
crushes
he
it.
comes to at the end
Yeah.
and he wins. Is that you?
Pretty similar. Yeah.
Okay.
that's
Jordan,
it.
have you seen that movie? Jordan's never seen a movie.
No,
You've-
I'm trying to pick the best first movie to watch.
Old School.
We've been trying to get Jordan to watch. Jeff was with us when we saw Hans Zimmer this past summer,
my God,
or
yeah.
last summer now.
Yeah.
And one of the suites that was played was the Gladiator suite, of which Jordan still has not seen Gladiator.
Yeah, and then you fucking like spoiled the ending for me. Like, oh, I'm not even gonna spoil it for anyone who hasn't.
Do you
seen
even
it.
know
Listen.
what we told you?
I do, and it was like really rude of you.
Yeah, okay, but you still need to see it.
Oh my
That's
God.
a Ridley
Always has to
Scott
go to this
classic.
shit.
Yeah,
Can
well,
we
Jordan,
wrap this up professionally for once?
Well,
guys, in the Facebook group, facebook.com/chocolate croissants or /group/chocolate croissants rather. Please tell Jordan which greatest movie of all time to start with. He needs help.
What's the URL again?
Facebook.com/group/chocolate croissants.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah.
so I think this brings us to our outro. Geoffrey with a
Yes.
G,
That's right.
like the
Geoffrey-
giraffe.
The giraffe.
Exactly. Like
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was about to say like the dinosaur, but that was Barney.
Right. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we
No.
wrap this up?
No, I love you guys. Thank you very much for having me.
We love you,
Thank you for coming on. This was a treat for sure.
of course.
So as we shut this down, Jeff, you were a 3.5 speaking directly into the microphone.
Yeah.
But a 10 as a guest.
I appreciate
so
it.
thank you for making the time for us tonight. Matt, you're looking at me.
Matt's thinking about the average of that, so you're like a 7.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
a hard 7.2.
No, I don't want Tyson to fart again because then it'll
It's
just,
bad.
I
in
know
here,
it's
man.
so bad. I need to take him out.
From the guy who's like, can we ever end this professionally?
Right.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to end it.
Jeff,
so I
you
can
wanna
get the
take it
dog
home?
out, you know?
I don't even know. No,
Okay.
I will not be the one to do that. I will not give it justice.
So-
Actually, what are you guys pushing right now? I'll ask you. I'll interview you for a second. What do people need to know about?
In general,
Tell me. Tell us.
No, they need to know.
We
What do they
did
need to
the-
know about the podcast?
Yeah.
What do people need to know to do at this point, Jordan?
Yeah.
We did this great end of the year. We had 7 categories.
Yeah.
We're going to be posting them one a day. Today was day 2.
yo,
Matthew,
Justin, you have to realize
This
that
is
when
going to be
people
out next
listen
week
to
and it'll
this,
be over.
I'm just saying, well, when we're recording this currently, it's day 2. It will be over by the time. So now that's it. You can't join.
Okay.
in. Sorry.
So
guys.
if you consume your podcasts on your phone, like most of us do, I know I use the Apple's podcast app, then we would really be appreciative if you could go on and search for Chocolate Croissants. If you found us another way, you can click the subscribe button, which is pretty easy to find. I think it's a purple button typically.
If you have a friend who has not subscribed yet, please take their phone and do it for them.
Yes,
Yeah.
we can do that, and we would encourage you to do that as well if you think the podcast has added value to your life and could add value to someone else's. If you want to go a step further and give us a rating or a review, we genuinely would like to know what your feelings are about your favorite episode, your least favorite episode, or the podcast as a whole. It definitely helps us to understand what kind of value we are delivering, if any at all. Aside from that, we really are appreciative of everyone who has been continuously active in our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/chocolate croissants. As Justin was saying, there has been some great communication and interaction going on this week so far. We are in the week prior to when this episode will be released, but we're going to be actively working on new ways to engage with you guys to make sure that the conversation is always going
Flowing.
down and flourishing, hopefully. And I don't know if you guys have looked, but we're over 1,500 members at this point, which is pretty amazing to think that we started with, just a few. I remember getting 100 was a big milestone, and now we are 15 times that. So thank you to everyone who has joined. Thank you to all of the listeners who have been open to hearing us out week after week. Some episodes better than others. All of our guests have been pretty amazing. It's really us who have needed to try to improve, and hopefully you see that improvement as we go. So,
and thank you to Rode Microphones, who have been with us since the beginning.
Absolutely.
RODE.com.
Thank you to Rode Microphones. And we'll be working with some new sponsors soon. We're actually going to be bringing Nata Tattoo back, and we'll have some more content to share with you guys regarding their premium tattoo care kits, which we think are actually pretty badass. So
Jeff
stay
will
tuned
get you
for
one.
that. Yeah,
Please
Jeff,
do.
you have some great tattoos, so we'll get you one of those. But Jordan, do you want to gracefully take us out as our fearless closer?
Bye-bye.